Okay, I think I'm back on live. Hello, can you hear me? I think yes. I think um so I just want to try it here. But hello everyone, if you're joining me, sorry about that. Just let me know if you can hear me, please. Can you hear me? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. That would be awesome. Oh, hooray. I'm glad to hear that. Oh, hooray. Okay, cool. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And sorry about that. Technology sometimes will have a mind of its own. Let me see if this will still work. Can you still hear me? Let me know if you can still hear me, please. I just can you still hear me? Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you. And sorry about that earlier on. So I'm just going to make a quick start. Oh gosh, 10 minutes, it's gone. We have a lot to talk about today, but let's go into it. What I was saying earlier on was that I want to set the scene very quickly, and that so this session is going to be happening every Friday. So please mark your diary to do lunch with me on Friday, just half an hour of your time every Friday, where we talk about raising wholesome men. And what we'll be talking about will not just be random topics, but they will be pain points, things that along the line I have identified that boys talk about, we parents of boys talk about, and then men also talk about. So they will not just be pain points that are centered around the boys, but pain points that are centered around men as well, because I believe that we can do more in supporting our men. That's my belief, and that's one of the purpose that I believe, or one of the things I believe God has called me to, supporting men on their journey as well, not women, not just boys. So today, what are we going to be talking about? We want to look at a very, very important topic. So I want to ask a question. Have you ever sat with somebody, your spouse, your dad, your mom, your colleague, and you feel they're not there with you? Have you ever sat with somebody and you feel lonely, or you feel, oh, where is this person? This person might be right next to me, but I don't kind of feel them around me. That has happened to me a lot of the times. And there are times that I say to my husband that I know you're here, but I don't feel you. And then he'll be like, but we have been talking. I'm like, I know we've been talking, but so if I want to see in the chat, have you ever felt like somebody is right next to you? The person is around, but they're not exactly around. You can't feel them around. You can't, you're not experiencing them. Let's see in the chat if you've ever felt that way. And today, so as I wait for you guys in the chat, today, that's what I want to talk about, where a lot of people grow up with the dad being at home every day, but they still feel fatherless. They do not feel the presence of their dad. And far above how you think this affects children, a lot of the men that are going around today, that are raising other boys, are actually feeling this thing as well. They're actually struggling with this, where they say, oh, he was there, he was in the house, he sat at the dinner table, he paid the bills. Yes, that's a very good one. He paid my fees. He was there. I could see him around in the house. He comes home after work, but I still don't feel him. I still don't feel he's there. And not too long ago, I think I don't know if I did a post or talked about it, where somebody was saying that or somebody, I think it was my husband or somebody, that sent me a video of a young girl who came home, brought all kinds of gifts for the mom, and then brought a bottle of wine for the father. And I got into the conversation with my husband, and I'm like, let's talk about why this happened. right? Or things like this happen. And my husband was like, yeah, that he can imagine what I would say. And I'm sure if you know me very well, you can already imagine what I would say. Yes, you paid the bills. Yes, you paid the fees. Yes, you worked so hard to put the food on the table. But from my experience as a mom with children who are young adults right now, I can safely say that our children do not necessarily see or feel the fees we pay, feel or see the rents we pay, or the mortgage we're paying as much as they see and feel us when we are truly, truly present. So, what happens that the boy cannot feel me, my child cannot feel me, I did not feel my dad, even though my dad was always at home? Let's start with the why that happens, right? And to be honest, 80% of the times, this is not intentional. I hope you know that. This is not usually intentional. But he was there as a father. He, 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 I never felt his presence. Why is that? The first for me is, could it be because he never had the template? He too he never felt his father's presence. I remember so many years ago, I can't remember where I was talking about it. And I'm like, for a lot of men, when you come into the door, what you're doing, you're listening to the news, you're reading newspapers. For those that still read newspaper, whether digitally or physically holding it, you're listening to the news. And then at dinner table, you sat at the dinner table. In fact, I grew up seeing fathers who will sit at the dinner table with their newspaper right to their face. They are at the dinner table, but they're keeping in touch with the news. And I'm not saying, no, you shouldn't keep in touch with the news, but those are part of the reasons why it feels like you're there, but you are not there. Then walk. Everything he talks about is walk, walk, walk. Is either he's talking about his own walk, or is as a father, that my dad is talking about his own walk, or you're talking or to your child, or you're talking about um my work as a child. Have you read your book? What happened in school today? Have you All of those kind of things can make a child feel like dad is not there. Another thing that can make a child feel like dad is in the house, but I feel fatherless, I don't feel his presence, is unresolved pains that dad is also carrying. Now, we've talked about this unresolved pains from our grandfather. The dad's dad to him. Now dad is now filtering dad from down from dad to his son as well. So unresolved pain. Another one that we don't talk about is confusion. Is that confused about correction and connection? Is that can be confused about how do I manage correcting him and connecting with him? How do I draw the boundaries? How do I make sure the boundary is visible between me being your friend and being your dad? A lot of us say, I'm your parent, I'm not your friend, right? How do I draw the boundary? How do I draw the line so that it's not blurry and we all understand it? And then for some, it's conditional love. I was in a Bible study on Wednesday, and a lady was we're talking about love, and somebody was talking about love, saying the love of a father to a parent to their child. And we're talking about God's unconditional love for us. And I said, sometimes we parents will fall into the trap of making our love conditional for our sons. He did not get good grades. That will determine if we truly love him. His grades determine our love for him. What else? The way he behaves, the mistakes the child make. We define the child and our love by the mistake they made, or their grades, or how well they're doing. So these are, and some others are, the reasons why it seemed like I have a dad. Dad is at home, but I still feel fatherless. And in almost every case, emotional absence is not malice. Trust me, dad is not keeping malice, but it is inheritance. That is what was passed down to him from his own dad, that is now unknowingly passing down to you as his child. I'm taking a pause there so that we can reflect, because I have seen this over and over and over and over again in father-son relationship. And I've heard fathers say, that's not how I was raised. That wasn't given to me. So I'm sure a lot of you must have heard it, or you probably have said it. That's not my father did it. So what does this do to your son? Or what has this done to you as a father right now who is fathering a child? What does this do to your son? One, let me use this. The core points, the core pain points here that it does to your son is you're giving him something to inherit and pass on to his own children as well. And one of the things I always say to parents is, let's reflect. As a parent, would I have, oh, I'm saying that's how my father raised me, that's what my father did, blah, blah, blah. Would I have preferred it to be done to me in a different way? I think that's something we should think about often. This thing has happened to me this way. How can I do better for my child? That's something I constantly ask myself. What can I do? And then what my parents did that I enjoyed, I loved, I carried it forward to my children. Now, let's go back to what this is doing to our children, or to me as a person. One, it's constantly making my child, or making me as a father, feel and wonder if I am enough and if I would ever be enough. So when your child begins to feel you are there and they still feel fatherless, a question they keep asking themselves is, am I enough? Or will I ever be enough? And that begins to tell